Yeah. Hi, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to the webinar. We got a couple of people coming in from India, from Malaysia. We've got people from Australia as well.
Oh, all right.
Everyone's waiting to hear you speak, Mr. Gabriel.
Thank you. I feel so honored.
Hi, Sophia. Long time no see. Hi, guys. Welcome to the webinar. If you're just joining us, some things to note. The chat function is on your bottom, right at the bottom. If you can just click that, feel free to message in, introduce yourself, ask any questions that you like there. Throughout the webinar, we will be talking to Mr. Gabriel. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask the question in the Q&A section at the bottom as well, if you click that. If you're joining us from YouTube, please feel free to message on the sidebar chat, and the team will be able to take the questions from there as well. At any point, feel free to just ask the questions, but how we will run it is we will ask the questions intermittently, depending on when the section is, when Mr. Gabriel is speaking. Hi, Chris. Gabriel, you got a colleague from UOW Dubai joining in.
Oh, good. Hi.
Hi, Michelle. Yeah, you got Miss Sarina. She's joining from Unitar.
Hi.
Gabriel, if you click the button chat at the bottom as well, you'll be able to see all the guys chatting as well.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Wendy. Welcome to this webinar as well. Hi, good afternoon, guys. If you're just joining us, we're just waiting for a little bit more before we officially start. In the meantime, please feel free to click the chat at the bottom right, and feel free to introduce yourselves. Happy to know where you guys are coming from and what kind of questions that you like. If you have questions directed at either myself or Mr. Gabriel, at the bottom, if you're coming in from the Zoom, there's a Q&A function. Please feel free to put your questions in there. If you're on YouTube, please feel free to type your questions on the chat function on the right. Hi, Samuel. Welcome. We got Samuel from Dreamcatcher. Gabriel, we've got Hema from KDU as well.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, there you go.
Wendy, hi. Jennifer.
All right, you got one more KDU. Kin. You've got Tony.
Hi, Tony.
From WGE. All right, Gabriel, not too bad. You got
Stang. Yes, Stang is here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good group.
Yeah, we've got 30 people right now in the Zoom chat. Hi guys, if you're just joining us, feel free to introduce yourself using the chat function at the bottom. If you're on YouTube, please use the chat function on the right. Introduce yourself to let us know where you're coming from.
Sheila.
Hi Sheila, joining all the way from Sarawak. So we've got a very diverse group.
Yeah.
Definitely, maybe not America side, but definitely around this time zone. Hi Nikki. Got 2 people from Dreamcatcher as well. Guys, we'll be starting very soon. Yep. So I think we'll just go ahead and start, and we'll let other people come in as we go.
Right.
Just some housekeeping before we officially start. The functions for you guys, everyone will be muted for the entire webinar. But if you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions at the Q&A function at the bottom, or put it in the chat room as well. My team will be able to help pick up the questions for you. And we will be answering those questions intermittently, depending on when the subject topic is being covered. Or at the end of the webinar, towards the tail end, we will be taking a lot more questions in as well. If you're joining us from YouTube, please feel free to just post the questions on the right side with the chat, and the team will be able to help pull up the questions for you as well. Yeah. All right. Without further ado, I think I'll just start. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarvin. I'm the MD of Open Learning Malaysia. Joining us today is Mr. Gabriel. He is the head of the Teaching and Learning Center of UOW Malaysia KDU. Welcome, Gabriel.
Hi, welcome, Sarvin. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining this webinar. Today's topic is all about how KDU, UOW Malaysia KDU, kind of took this whole situation and kind of built a business and moved online very quickly to be able to kind of react and also kind of build for the long term in terms of how to react in terms of, you know, this whole new normal that people are talking about, in terms of how to make sure the business is resilient as we move forward in the uncertainty that everything is going through. How does the business continue? You know, does it change the way they think about what kind of programs? Do they change the way they think about how students engage with the lecturers? And it's all about the transition from how they moved everything quickly, what they're doing, the pros, the cons, you know, where it went wrong, where it went right. The whole idea today is to kind of pick Gabriel's mind in terms of what KDU has done and how we take this forward. So just before we start, again, one more time, if you have any questions, please feel free to just ask it at the bottom in the Q&A function. If you're on YouTube, please ask it in the chat function at the right. Throughout the webinar, we will be hosting a lot of polls that can come up as well. Please feel free to just answer directly, and we'll just take it from there. Yep. All right. So Gabriel, I think the first question on everyone's mind, as how we went through this whole thing, is when this was becoming a real threat, or when this became real. You know,
when it became real, huh?
At what point did you guys think, okay, this is something that we need to, respond to, and what did you guys do about it?
Thank you, Sarvin. Very good question. When did it become real? Okay, I think KDU, what happened to us was we were a little bit lucky lah. So when the MCO hit us, it wasn't like a thief in the night. Okay, because what happened was our management had the foresight to understand that the COVID-19 was something serious. So they actually studied the news of what's going on. And since the 4th of February, that's beginning of February, end of January, beginning of February, we started having meetings and discussion. And what we did was we said to ourselves, we need to do something. We cannot wait until this COVID-19 epidemic becomes worse. So with the guidance of our DVC academic, Dr. Hon, she drove this initiative to have what we call a fire drill. Now, what is this fire drill, ladies and gentlemen? Fire drill is very, very unique to KDU. What we did was this. We told our colleagues in KDU that they are supposed to take 1 day off of a week, and they have to do totally online teaching at home. Okay, so we put it in such a situation that it was an immediate response for them. So they needed to take action to be able to overcome this fire drill that we had. Okay, the reason was because it's frank. Many of us, when we had the system, sometimes we take things for granted. Correct. We take things for granted. It's always there. It's always there. We have always been practicing face-to-face and so on. So many of our colleagues did use the system, but maybe not in depth. So this fire drill actually opened their eyes, and they really could see what are the areas that they will have. They still had challenge on, and that really, really worked. That was actually very, very good. And also, when we look into it, blended learning was something that KDU already had for 18, 20 months already. We started the initiative on blended learning 20 months, especially I believe when we started with open learning. But of course, all of this process about implementing into the stuff is gradual. It is not overnight. It is a gradual process. So there are already a group of our colleagues who are already quite good in doing online learning already, or online using online tools to say the least. And this actually helped a lot, because what we did is we also had, I just want to add in this part that I'm very proud of. We actually championed the idea where every school had what you call a champion, an open learning champion. So every school in KDU, they will have a group of individuals who are very, very good in using the system and also the pedagogy in online delivery. So what happens is when their colleagues have any issues, they will then liaise with these people who will then guide them in the matters pertaining to online delivery. So it is driven by individual schools itself. It is driven by the champions. And these champions will motivate and push their colleagues in start going online. So when the fire drill that we had in 4th of February, when that went on, some of our colleagues, for them it was a shock, but majority of them was like, all right, fine, we have already been doing this, and it was already okay. So actually we were quite ready on that matter, I would dare say. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Open learning champions. I like that word, definitely.
Yeah, we call them champions, open learning champions. Yeah, individual schools will have at least 3 to 4 individuals. Yeah.
But that's really good though, and I mean, for the fact that you guys started in February itself, that's a huge offer.
A good 6 weeks.
So, in your experience, how fast did you think people took before they actually got, okay, you know what, I can do this. This is okay, and I can try this out. Because what's happening is a lot of people didn't work in that perspective, right? A lot of our viewers, a lot of the people we're talking to, they had to react because they didn't do the fire drill before. So I think the first thing on their mind is, how long is this going to take for me to kind of transition my team or my lecturers to be able to convert, right?
Okay.
So you had the luxury of a fire drill in that sense. I wouldn't say luxury, sorry. It's more of you kind of pre-thought that. How long did it take in that 6 weeks before people you thought were getting used to the idea?
Okay, I believe for us, we were quite lucky because our colleagues were already quite well versed with the system. They already knew the system. Okay, but many of them use it as a supplementary to their normal face-to-face. So they already knew how to use the technology itself. Okay, so for me to what I would decide to say, for those who have not used any system itself, then that could be a challenge because the learning of the system will actually take time. Okay, and that is where the challenge can be, because at the initial stage of learning, that is where the curve is the most difficult part, learning how to use the system itself. But once they get their hang of it, then what happens, it becomes more fluent, it becomes much easier then. So I would have said for us, we started 6 weeks before we did the fire drill. After that, we managed to look into those individual challenges that they had. But for other institutions who may not already have a system in place, you may need to have a longer time for it. You may need. But one thing that I can safely say is motivation of the staff is critical. The motivation. The staff plays a critical role. You can have the best system available, but if the staff are not motivated and not driven to use, then it is no point. So we need to motivate the staff. We need to actually communicate the staff and tell them this is why we need to do it this way. These are the angles that we need to look into, and from there they will actually drive themselves into achieving that particular academic goal itself.
So, I mean, learning from that, how were there tricks or were there initiatives that you did to kind of keep the motivation going among the team?
All right. Yes, definitely.
Was it a carrot? Was it a stick?
Yes. Okay. To be honest, what we did is since last year we have actually put going online as KPIs for our staff.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes. Because we knew management had the foresight to say that, ladies and gentlemen, this is the future. This is where it will go. Not only because of our students who want to go, who are looking to the E element, but also as a springboard to go for higher or different levels of markets. And also we were also thinking that just in case anything does happen, just in case. Previously there was a SARS and so on, and during that time COVID just also started. So basically it was something that we thought about. So what management did was they put it as KPIs for each individual schools. So each individual schools managed by their head had to have at least 3 to 4 courses totally online. That was already given since last year. So what happens was a lot of the initiatives that were put on actually helped us to lessen the pain when when the MCO actually came in.
Oh, wow.
And of course, if you're sorry, let me just add in one more part over here. Last year, how did we further encourage our staff? KDU, we have the yearly teaching award. We have a yearly teaching award. And last year's theme for this teaching award was very much on technology, usage of technology, innovation that the lecturer used. So what we do is we link in all the activities of the institution in such, so that it will drive that central theme that, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we want to get to. So it was our teaching awards, it's our KPI, it was our messages, our trainings, everything under the same umbrella of technology.
So it was very much a full thought out plan, top down. It wasn't a reactive thing anymore. This was your institution's way of going, hey, this is the future, and let's make sure everything is aligned to that in terms of the KPIs, in terms of the guidelines, in terms of the encouragement that you will give. So I think that's another question that someone had as well. Okay, it's been 2 to 3 months now in terms of the reality setting in. The idea is, do we adapt for the short term, in a sense of putting a plaster on it and going, okay, let's just fix it potentially, or do we take this opportunity to kind of rethink this and build for the long term, right? So learning from what you guys are doing. To kind of summarize what you did was you picked project champions. So sorry, first of all, you started from the top. It needs
started from the top.
It needs to be a direction from senior management to be able to say, hey guys, this is going to be how we move forward. Is it online or is it blended? Something like that. And then you set the KPIs in play, which is what you did. And it also full of encouragement in terms of awards, celebrating the people who did it right, creating that learning environment. So, because this is something that a lot of universities are questioning right now. Do we think of this long term, or do we think of this in the short term? But if I were to kind of pick on that, what kind of guidelines are you giving your team, right? So there's a whole bunch of questions from this, in the sense that, okay, now that you're telling them, okay, let's go online. That's from a delivery perspective. Then there's also from an assessment perspective. So could you, if you don't mind, walk us through how are you briefing your team or the lecturer to think about both the delivery side as well as the assessment side? And what are you doing for that?
Okay, here let me just break it down to the delivery side first. All right. Psychologically, it is very different to teach face-to-face in school versus the element if we are doing it online now. One clear example is, let's say I'm a lecturer teaching students now, and our audience are my students. One thing that I don't get is the immediate feedback itself. Because in class, when you say something, you see the facial response of the students, and automatically, without them even saying, sir, I don't understand, you will know they don't understand. So you tend to emphasize on certain key points. So that is something which I personally stress to all my colleagues. The whole dimension has evolved. The whole dimension where what works in class, for me, body language is so important. It will not work online. Okay, will not work online. So what we do is, on the delivery side, we emphasize a lot on formative feedback. We emphasize a lot on formative feedback. So what we have in advice is like this. We will look into the lesson learning outcome. Let's say this week's lesson, we have 1 to 6, for example. Let's take 1 to 6. Then this week's lesson 1 to 6, I'll be meeting synchronously with the students on Monday at 2 to 4 p.m. All right. So what I do is, this lesson 1 to 6, what I will do is maybe 1 to 4, I will do it synchronously with the student. But even then, I will break it down into small packets. I like to use the word packets. Some people would like to use it as components whatsoever. I call it packets, little packets. So we have packet A, packet B, packet C, packet D. Now, so what I always advise my colleagues is during the delivery, when you deliver per packet. After delivering the packet, assess the packet. Assess the packet in a formative way, formative feedback. So we want to ask questions. We want them to make sure that we can achieve. They already understand that packet. Once it is done, only we will go on to the next stage. Once we go on, only we'll go on to the next packet and so on. So what we do is we break down the whole lesson learning outcome into small packets. So on an average, if it is a 1 hour lesson, that 1 hour lesson will be divided into maybe 20 to 25 minutes max, because the concentration span of the student cannot go more than that. So it's 20 to 25 minutes, small little packets. And what I also encourage my colleagues is this thing which I actually practice quite a bit. It is the sorry, there's an online this thing called a technique called tell, show, do, and apply. Tell, show, do, and apply. Now, this is something which I've been practicing for many years. It was basically used in the nursing field, all right, where for you to teach, you tell, the level of understanding and absorption for tell alone is much lower than if you show, do, and finally you get the students to apply. So normally in class, what we normally do is in the physical class, we tell. Now, being online, I find this very, very important. We show and also ask them to do. We must show and also ask them to do. And showing means emphasizing on importance, like body language. So if you want to emphasize something very important, you know, like the hands, how the hands work, all right? Use the senses, use the senses, the individual senses. The more you use, the more it can actually grasp in the students itself. So that is on the delivery side in a nutshell. Now, what we also had is KDU actually came out with a guide. We came up with a guide, a best practice guide. So what we did is we came up with this guide on pre-delivery, during delivery, post-delivery, and assessment. Now, this guide is something which, this guide is not based on literature in such a way. Of course, we did refer to some best practices, but it's mainly based on our observation of our colleagues, our observation of their classes and so on. So we came up with this guide, and which will assess or which will assist the lecturers in delivering their lessons. Okay, because many a times we tend to forget, we always concentrate on the during delivery, but the pre-delivery is as important. We tend to neglect the pre-delivery, things such as like the environment that you are in, noise level, whether is it warm or is it hot, is the air conditioning on, do you have children running around, and all of those elements, does the computer work properly? All of those elements also play a critical role to ensure that the delivery goes smoothly. So what we did is we are looking at all angles into the delivery itself. Does that answer the first question on the delivery side?
It does actually, but if you don't mind me asking, so if you break it up to the way you've done it, pre-delivery, during delivery, so let's start at pre-delivery.
Pre-delivery, okay.
So pre-delivery, in my mind, is broken up into two. You got the environment, which is your laptop, your surroundings, noise levels, and whatnot. What about pre-delivery in terms of getting your student ready? Pre-delivery in terms of getting your material ready. What kind of things are you guys doing there on that side?
Okay, if you're looking into pre-delivery on the students, here during the MCO, one key element that our colleagues needed to look into is on the matter of pre-delivery on students. Let me just take it back a little bit on the steps, okay? The basic steps itself. So the first thing you need to do when you're looking to pre-delivery is you need to look into your lesson learning outcome. What do you want to achieve? What do you really want to achieve? Then you need to look into the skills that you want to achieve. Is it cognitive skill that you want to develop? Is it presentation skills and so on? Because depending on subjects and courses itself, many a times we think that when we are delivering, we only want students to develop on the cognitive side, the thinking side. But no, sometimes certain courses require like presentation skills. So once we know the lesson, once we know what skills that we want to develop from the student, only will we be able to develop the program or the cost itself for the online delivery. So it needs to start from there. And then only we will be able to streamline the thought, the way that we actually think, and how we structure the lesson itself for the individuals.
Understand. So, so if that were the case, then I mean, so this will be both online and offline, right?
Definitely. But now we are emphasizing more on the online element, the online, because if it's offline, what happens is if we are doing, we are emphasizing on group work, for example, or students' presentation. Then when you go into class, it's easier. But how do you assess students' presentation online? You see, so those are the things that require you to actually think. What about group work? How do you evaluate group work? How do you encourage group work online? So the same tools that you use face-to-face will not be feasible if you're looking at it online. Less feasible, not feasible. It needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Understand. I'll save that question for the assessment portion.
Sure.
Delivery. So then we go into the middle portion, right? Which is the actual delivery of it. And you use the term packets. So breaking up into packets.
Yeah.
So one question that came in was, I can't keep the attention of my students, right?
Yeah.
20 minutes. So on a normal basis, the encouragement is such that you speak for 20 minutes or run a conversation. And then after that 20 minutes, what do you get your student to do?
Okay.
Do you submit something? Are you making a discussion? Like how do you keep them engaged?
To get them engaged, always remember, tell, show, do, apply. The reason why students don't get engaged many a times is because we are telling them a lot. We are telling them, all right? It is so difficult for us to concentrate when we are staring at the screen. You need to understand the students have the same challenges also. Now, what happens in class? In class, let's say I'm in class as a student. My lecturer is teaching. I still can ask my friend on my left, what's for lunch? Where are we going for lunch? You see, there's this conversational element, all right? Whereas when you're talking about online, you are now concentrating all your focus to the screen. So what happens is students will burn out fast. So the first element is let's not get them to burn out fast. So not only do we do tell, we need to show and let them do something. We need to let them do something. So example, even like a marketing class, even it's like a marketing class, you want them to do something. You can even say, okay, students, look around you. Can you identify certain key brands in your house? How did that brand manage to target you or influence you to purchase their product? But you want them to keep them active. Because many a times, the easiest way is always the telling. Telling is always the easiest way because it is from facilitator down to the student. So we want that involvement in it. Okay, so that is where it is. Now, how do we assess the formative feedback side? For me, I like to use Carhood as a game. Okay, and I have a little certain standard that I put in such that if the answer is less than 80%, when I do a Carhood assessment, it means I will stop and I'll repeat the key elements. Okay, I'll repeat the key elements. And every small packet, I will ensure that the must-knows student really know. Now, in all lessons, there are a lot of must-know and good-to-knows. Must-knows are the key theories and elements of that particular topic itself. Those are the must-knows. Okay. Example, if you're looking at marketing, we have the marketing mix in the chapter, the 7 Ps, for example. Those are the must-knows. How it is further elaborated are the good-to-knows. So upon the completion of every packet, we need to assess the must-knows. Student must know the must-knows. I always say that. Okay. So if 80%, if the correct answers are less than 80% for that packet, stop, repeat. Stop, re-explain. Stop, let students apply the theory. That is critical. Don't go on to the next packet. No. Okay. Upon completion, go on. Then only you go on to the next packet and you go on. Get the students involved. Get the students involved itself. Yeah.
So actually, on that point, so what kind of so Carhood is a great idea. So essentially, it's quick, it's easy. Everyone has a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Get in there, and it's a good way to gauge whether people actually understood the must-knows, especially, and also but more from a repetitive way of coming back and saying, "Hey, do I remember this?" And then do I understand it? Apart from Carhood, have you seen anything else that's good in terms of getting the students to engage back with you during the synchronous exams?
Yeah. Based on the observation that I did with my colleagues in KDU, a lot of them are also very interactive in such. So what they do is when they have their online classes, their synchronous classes, they actually pick students. They can say, hey, Ali, what do you think of? And then you get Ali to explain. Okay. So this can also be a good way of doing things. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at large classes, that can be a challenge. It can be a challenge if it is a large class. So in large classes, normally we would encourage more the usage of technology. All right, large class. So at least we get a snapshot of the understanding of how things are going at that particular time, in their understanding of that particular knowledge that they need to attain before they go on to the next level.
Do you have an example for that? Like, how would you use technology apart from Kahoot?
Okay, like, apart from Carhood, what I've seen in my colleague, this is based on observation and also based on best practice. If you're looking at small packets itself, what they can do is we can even allow students to do, like, let's say, mathematical calculations and also drawings, and after that put it out into forums. So that is what they do when they use open learning. They have that discussion area, so students actually put up their answers inside there, and then after that they are required to do something or explain their answers. And even in the forum over there, what we do is, as we want to encourage group work. So how do we encourage group work? So some of our lecturers do this randomly. They will say, okay, my class of 20, so today, student number 1, 3, and 5, you are in a group. So that 3 students on that day are in the group. So immediately there, they need to do their work and put it up. So this is where we are trying to develop leadership skills. We are trying to develop group work. We are trying to develop communication skills, either than the cognitive element of knowledge. You see, so we need to understand that at the end of the day, we are not only teaching students knowledge, we need to ensure that we are also developing them in other key skills. This is something which I find, heart to heart, many times when people go into online learning, only think of the cognitive side. How can I teach my student? How can I teach knowledge? But we need to understand the complete student is not only knowledge, it is group work, leadership skills, and so on. So those are the things that we also try to integrate into our online delivery.
That's brilliant though. Like, I got a quick question on that one. When you broke the guys up into groups, so student 1, student 3, and student 5, how are you getting them to talk to each other? And
open learning allows it.
Understand. So if you're not using open learning, let's just say I'm a lecturer in a smaller college, and first time going online. What's the best way to kind of get them to do group work?
Sign up for open learning, number one. That'll be the easiest. All right. Now,
say that, guys.
Technology allows for many things. I will not be able to answer per se of which app will be the best for it. I dare say, based on the observation of my institution and what we are using. But I believe there are so many, like Teams, Microsoft Teams itself allows for this kind of group integration, because we need to understand that these kind of key elements still need to go on. How we develop group thought, group work, group. We want conflict in students. How do we get conflict? If students are in front of their computers alone, no conflict. Yep. See, so we want to put them into group, and conflict itself develops the way that they think.
Great. No, that's really good though, because different people have different situations, right? And they're trying to rethink. So I think to your suggestion is, how do you rethink the delivery of the It's no longer a lecture where you're the main person just giving out the information.
No. Yes, which I would like to emphasize on that. I think, Sarvin, you brought up a very key element. This online, during this MCO, it has opened our eyes a little bit to the responsibility of learning. Now, the responsibility of learning in a very traditional sense, in a very Asian context, don't hold me to this, has always been lecturer or teacher being the sifu. Sifu means the expert, and I give you. Now, this environment is, in a way, I find counterproductive for future economic development. And what has happened during this MCO is it creates thought in our student. It allows for us, this difficulty has created an opportunity for us to make students more independent. And what is key over here, knowledge is something you can gain. Knowledge you can gain from books. You just go to YouTube, you can learn 101 things. You can even change, you can even do servicing of a car just by watching YouTube. But character, personality, independence of thought, those kind of things, very difficult. So when we look into this this MCO itself and this situation that we are in, this is an opportunity for us to develop students in different angles, in different ways, which is a blessing in disguise.
It's true. But
Yeah.
so I got a question here from Miss Wendy, right? And she said that she conducted a small group discussion using Zoom.
Sorry.
She conducted a small discussion using Zoom,
Okay.
like a live chat like this. But she started realizing that some students are too shy to talk or give their feedback, so to speak. In your experience or in what you're seeing at KDU, how do you encourage this group? I mean, I understand it also happens in this environment, but that one you can actually go up to that student, right, and kind of something about that. But how would you do that in an online environment?
Okay. First of all, Zoom, very good app, very easy to use. First thing is the comfort that the student has on the application itself, and when they use Zoom, I find that it is very good. Now, how do we encourage students? Now, we encourage students by creating an environment where students know that they can speak without being targeted. Okay, many of our students feel that they do not want to speak because they feel that what if I say something wrong? What if I feel something wrong? Okay, so we want to create the environment of learning. Once the environment of learning is there, then it is the responsibility of the lecturer or the facilitator to prod. I like to use the word prod. It's like the stick, poke, 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 sometimes no choice. So what we do is we ask, Sarvin, what do you think of? Then after that, if Sarvin is not answering, then maybe we'll pause a little while. Then after that, encourage Sarvin to answer again. And whatever answers that Sarvin gives, we will, even though it's not correct, we have to encourage in a positive way. Good try. However, maybe not accurate at this time. Okay. So it is. I believe once the student have this feel that they are comfortable in speaking, then slowly they will be they will begin to be more open. Now, another way I can say, but depending on institution, is also reward them, carrot and a stick. Using the carrot, could there be things such as like a reward for them, maybe a CC, certain points or certain elements that can be given to them when they contribute in class. Okay, so these are the things that could encourage more participation by the students.
Understand. So
yeah,
you stick to prod, not to rotan. That's the key.
No. Rotan cannot. Our student cannot rotan. All right.
Thanks. There's another question here from Jennifer. Especially from KDU, from a culinary school perspective, how are you guys going about the blended requirements of the course that are more hands-on in nature? For example, culinary or on the TVET side, welding and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. For us, of course, if you look into elements of engineering and culinary especially, here what we are doing is we are actually rethinking the practical sessions at the moment. Now, I think this Jennifer is from the culinary school, is that right? Now, is that right? If I'm not wrong.
I'm not sure. Jennifer, are you from the culinary school?
Oh, it's all right. Sorry. Now, basically, what has happened is at the initial stage, for us in KDU, I'm talking about KDU's perspective, we wanted to hold our practical classes till the MCO was lifted. But due to the extension of various times of this MCO, we have taken the action now to re-look into the delivery of the practical classes. Now, what is happening now is individual schools who require practical classes are looking into the learning outcome. What is the key learning outcome? Breaking it down and looking at what are the other possible methods for us to ensure that the student achieves this outcome. So what we believe is this. Let's say MCO is going to be extended. Students still need to complete their studies. So what we're going to do is we are going to restructure these practical classes. Let's take culinary, for example, a hot kitchen or butchery. How do you cut meats? So we are going to look into the element of if they can't practically do it, at least understand the steps. know the steps, know the identification, all the key must knows. You remember I was using the term must know. So for them to example, cut meat or cut chicken, maybe a saute cut, how many portions and so on, then at least they know the theoretical side of things first. We are going to support this by having videos, so that our lecturers will be able to develop videos, or if videos are already available, to further support, at least on the knowledge side. So what happens is, with the knowledge, at least the students will have, eventually when the MCO is lifted, we will be able to show them in the labs. We will be able to practice this in the labs.
Okay,
so not now cannot, definitely no, because they're not allowed to come to school. So we are restructuring, we are breaking down the syllabus, understanding what are the key areas that needs to be covered. Because we understand there are a lot of limitations to practical classes, especially engineering, medicine, culinary, and so on. These things, you can't do it at home because the students may not have the required tools or software. Yeah. So it is the lesser of the two evils in such a way. All right. We know it is not the best solution, but we will try. That is where we will go back again. Remember, I want to emphasize again, tell, show, do, apply. All right. So this, for the practical one, we will show, demonstrate online, maybe, so at least the student, if they go for a practical class, they will absorb 80%, but when we show them, at least they can get 50 to 60%. Okay, it's not optimum, it's not the best, but at least they are managed to achieve the learning outcome.
So you're not basically taking it away completely. You're just kind of delaying it. So do everything else first while waiting for the actual practical opportunity.
Okay. Those that, these are for those that are, if we are unable to replace it with technology. If we are unable to replace, then we are going to extend it. Certain things still students will need to go to class, need to go to the kitchens and so on. But what can be replaced, of course, we are going to replace it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. I'm wary about the time, so I would like to jump into the question that a lot of people are really interested in, is assessments. Everyone has this going around, like, how do I assess students? Actually, it's twofold. How do I assess my lecturers and teachers, whether they're doing their job or not? And B, how do I assess my students in the different types of forms that KDU is doing, or what you see as the best practices for that?
Okay. Let me put it this way. Let's look into the lecturer perspective. The first thing that students, lecturers need to understand is the assessment, the whole element of assessments need to evolve. I'm going to use, if it's a theory paper, let's take marketing, for example. If it's marketing, of course, when we set exam papers, it is normally verb plus content plus context. There must be a verb, there must be a content, there must be a context. So many a times at lower levels, we may just want students to define and list. But when we look into this home study and also home assessment, I always encourage my colleagues that we don't reward the content. We reward the application of content into context. We must reward application of content into context. Okay. Now, what does this mean is we need to understand that if students are doing home assessment, then we need to put it under the basket. It is similar to an open book exam. For example, it's similar to an open book exam. And because it's similar to an open book exam, the general content element, the theories students will have, okay, which is fine. But we want to assess them on how they apply these theories into specific context. So that is how we look at it. This is if we are doing online assessment that is not controlled. It's very difficult for us to control. Now, technology today allows us to, in a way, proctor students by using the camera. I would like to shout out to there's this page, Exam.net. I believe now there's this thing, Exam.net, that is giving us free access until end of the year to use their program. Now, what does this program do? This program allows for an environment of control when the students do their assessment. So this allows, so when you're talking about online assessments, if you have this technology in place, then certain key traditional aspects of exams still can maintain. Now, only if you have the right technology. If not, then you really need to restructure the questions itself, restructure the outcome. What do you want the students to achieve? Yeah.
And okay, so I like the way you said it. It's the same concept as an open book test. If you think of it that way,
yes.
the whole environment of how you look at it, right?
Yeah,
People always say online you can't check. Oh, that's not it.
I know 99% of KDU students are honest. There's still that 1%.
I'll let you have that one. Then if you don't mind telling us, like, how did you use that on Exam.net? So if, for example, Miss Sarina was mentioning that someone's doing live exam, so is proctored through the camera. So it's basically a visual representation of that person doing work.
It is. Exam.net actually works hand in hand with quite a few of the Google apps. The Google apps that allow it to be integrated in. Very interesting. I actually got to know about it only recently when I was playing around, and I found out that this was actually good, and I would like to introduce it to my colleagues, the usage of this. And now I would like to shout it out to everybody. Guys, have a look at it. It's a Swedish company, should be reliable, and it's free until end of the year. Try, use it. Yeah.
Would you be comfortable, so Mr. Izzat is asking, would you be comfortable if we give a list of all the tools that KDU is using? Like the type, say for example, Open Learning, Easy, Exam.net.
Okay, Exam.net, we haven't officially used it yet, but this is something we are playing around. Is that right? Basically, if you're looking into online delivery, we use a variety. We use Skype, we use Zoom, WebEx, and what we have done is this. There are so many key applications and softwares. Like, for example, my game school, the game school itself, they are more comfortable to use one software over the other. Discord, if I'm not wrong, they like to use this thing called Discord. The reason is because the people that are in the game school, they have been using this software during in their games when they were gaming, and they find this to be very effective. Now, at the initial stage, when MCO started, I did not restrict the usage, or I would say management of KDU never restricted the usage of any of these apps, because the key element that we were thinking is goal achievement. If the tool that the lecturer is happy to use is effective, please use it. So is there one very, very good application that is the best out of all? I would say no. It depends on the individual usage itself.
That's great, actually, because different people have different requirements as well, right?
Yeah.
And you were mentioning that one question we had from Pixel 3. How do I protect our own educational content, in particular new companies with not a lot of competition, to be prone to copyright infringements? Or do we live in a world that everything's online and we shouldn't have to worry about it? So I think this question is coming from a copyright perspective. Now that you're going online, how do you protect your IP?
Okay, my opinion, it is the latter. Okay, I find knowledge is now open. Knowledge should be easily accessed and open to all. That is the only way we are to grow. We have to share knowledge, and knowledge must not be limited to only one institution. However, the effort that is put in, of course, the recognition of that knowledge needs to be there. All right, the recognition of where that knowledge, that information was derived or was taken from needs to be there. Good referencing needs to be there. So if you're talking about the fear of putting our notes and so on up online, yes, there is that fear itself. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, whatever you put there, somebody would have put something similar to you. All right, it is already there. So there's nothing much we can actually hide, unless maybe you're doing a new kind of rendang that you're the only one that does know how to do it lah. Other than that, I think information is right available on this the web.
So I guess the answer to your question, the way you're saying it, is just be comfortable that it will be.
Yeah. Knowledge you cannot. There's no way you can just say it's my knowledge. No, not at this time and generation.
All right. So guys, we're coming into 10 more minutes to go. So we'll just try to answer as many questions as we can. So please feel free to put in the Q&A. Please also remember that if we can't get to your question today, we will respond to you post the webinar, and as we collate and answer you back after. So do ask the questions that you need to, and we'll try to answer as many as we can right away. So Gabriel, are you ready for a couple of shotgun rounds?
Go ahead.
All right. So I'll start you off. I'll warm you up. Mr. Razif is asking, in KDU, in the early stage, so let's call it during fire drill, what kind of percentage of lecturers were ready or accepted the fact that they have to go online?
40%, 40 to 45%. Yeah.
Okay.
That were ready. Yeah. That were ready. Yeah.
They were ready.
Okay. Yeah. That were really ready. 40 to 45%.
Of the remaining 60, how long did it take you to get them there?
6 weeks.
In 6 weeks? So
6 weeks.
how many percent do you think is ready to go?
After 6 weeks, when the MCO started, they around 80 to 90%, and now I dare say easily more than 90%. It will never be 100%, of course. So I think it's like 90+%. Yeah.
Understand. And I got a question from Mr. Samuel. In February, when you did that fire drill, movement was it in the middle of your semester, or start of a new semester?
Just the semester just started.
Okay, so lecturers were already after holiday coming in to teach the way they program, and then
yeah. I have to thank my our management for that. Like they bit the bullet seriously. They said it's going to be painful, but we need to do it. So that is critical.
Perfect. That's really good. So take away from that, it's really important that senior management is on board with the decision because it has to trickle down from the top. Is online learning going to be a long-term strategy for KDU?
Yes, online learning has always been part of our strategy. KDU has always been very much a traditional face-to-face organization, but now with this, we are slowly adapting. We are adapting to the new normal, as you could say. And if the new normal requires us to change the traditional, then we are ready. I would say we are ready to do it. Now, will it be painless? No, it will not be painless. It will still be a bit of a challenge. And the two prongs to it. Are we ready is one thing. Are the students ready? Students are still waiting to join institutions when there is face-to-face classes. You see, for them, learning is face-to-face classes. So we need to re-educate our students that education is not only through face-to-face classes. Learning and education is different. You learn, you get your education. So the students' goal is to come to institutions for an education. There are many ways in getting that education. And learning can take place face-to-face and also not face-to-face. So it is two-pronged. We try our very best to adapt to the system. The market also needs to. The market will need to change also.
No, it's good that you brought up students as well. So Mr. E is asking, is KDU facing an issue where students have no access to internet? And how do you ensure that no man left behind kind of concept?
Okay, we have very good as our students. What we have is in classes we have like class teachers, class teachers. So we communicate with the students. So once we communicate with students and we find students have any issues pertaining to access, no problem. We will use other methods to deliver to them. So let's say if in my class, I'm having an open learning class of 30 students, but one student says, sir, I'm very sorry, it's lagging in my place. No issue. You will use WhatsApp. We will make sure the students are not left behind. We will use other methods of delivery to ensure the students are not left behind. It may mean a lecturer spending more time just to handle that one student. Because we know this is something which is unpredictable. We did not predict this to happen. So when it happens, the lecturers are actually doing much more. And I can safely say, if you ask the lecturers in KDU, it's more difficult to do online or work from home than to work in office. Correct, right, Samin?
I think that one's a personal preference thing. There's a question from Mr. Samuel. How would KDU or how do you differentiate yourself and justify your tuition fees? He's citing the fact that in America, a lot of US institutions are facing requests from students for refunds. In America, it's legal suits as well. But how would KDU respond to something like that?
I would not say I'm representing the organizations to speak on that. It's my perspective. I look at it as I will fall back to the education part of it. At the end of the day, student is getting an education. All right. So when the attainment of an education is not limited to face-to-face classes, what the lecturers are doing, what the school is doing, is to ensure that the student achieves that education. You may want to quote me and say, but earlier on you said, what about practical classes that you can't have? Fair enough. But eventually when things come back, we will not shortchange you. We will ensure that you still attain that knowledge at the end of the day on how to cut meat, for example. But today I will give you what I can give you to the maximum. After that, I won't shortchange you that. Because the whole aspect of learning needs, the whole mindset of learning of the student needs to transcend to a next level. That learning is becoming more fluid. The learning element becomes more fluid, and it being more fluid doesn't fall into a set mold. A set mold means to learn, I must go to class and there must be a cikgu or seafood to teach. No more, no more. It is now different. That is why I keep telling my colleagues, my lecturers, guys, you guys are no more lecturers. You guys are facilitators. You facilitate, you guide. When students walk on the path, they go out, you push them back in again. But at the end of the day, when students achieve their goal, is students' achievement. You facilitate their learning. And if students understand that they are being facilitated and the achievement is theirs, then they will understand that in education, there are many ways to get education itself.
So that's well said. I think from an open learning perspective, we truly believe in that concept as well. The day of lecture where you lecture stage on the stage is definitely changing.
Correct.
And we're definitely moving towards a facilitation model where you learn from anywhere, especially from a social aspect as well. And from a perspective as well. I got a little bit more structured question here from a local, sorry. How would Ministry of Higher Education in Malaysia take this approach? Given that before COVID, it was very much such that you need a license to be able to deliver said content online.
Correct.
In today's environment, is MOHE kind of, how are you reacting to MOHE at this point? The other way around, sorry.
How am I reacting to MOHE? We are following MOHE's regulations to the T. Okay, to the T. That means whatever that was whatever that was offered was brought up by MOHE, we are following it to based on what we of our exactly as what is required. Now, I think MOHE also is evolving to this. Okay, that is something very, very clear. I believe that for us, we need to be a little bit patient. I find institutions will need to be patient. Now, many people say there is no time to be patient, but I believe MOHE is trying their very best, MQA MOHE, to ensure the students achieve the learning outcomes of the program itself. But because the whole environment has changed, now they did not even expect COVID-19, of course. They did not know about the MCO. So for them, it is also something very new. That is why at the initial stage, there were some hiccups on notices and so on. But I believe we should be patient because they have good people over there who are really thinking of a right structure so to ensure that all institutions are not shortchanged. Also, not only institutions, but students. At the end of the day, the learning outcome of the students will be achieved.
That's a great way of putting it, actually. Everyone's new to this, right?
Yes, everyone is new to it. There's no point for us to say whether what is right or what is wrong at the moment. But in 6 months down the road, if nothing is done, then we will continue this discussion.
That's fair. We got time for about 2 more questions. So I'll take one from Jacqueline. She's from Sarawak Maritime Academy.
Hi, Jacqueline.
In your experience, how are you guys doing more of the assessments? Is it more tests/exams, proctored or not, or is it more assignment-based work for your exams?
We have evolved, so it is a mixture. Those final exams that could be converted into assessments, final assessments, and proctored tests, we have actually changed it. But those subjects which are not able to, that still requires sit-down exam, we are using technology for that. And every course that let's say a lecturer wants to change from a final exam, a traditional 40% exam, to assessments, it needs to go through the head of school to make sure that the learning outcome or the assessment outcome is still achieved. So it is quite a stringent process. It is not as simple as, okay, my exam, sit down now, I'm going to make it a final assessment, I'm just going to put it online. No, it doesn't work like that. It's a whole rethought of the question. Whole rethought. We need to go back to the blueprint. We need to go back to the learning outcome, and from there only the questions are then restructured. So to actually say where did we actually, or how did we hit, there is no fixed answer, because some of the papers still maintain proctored using technology exam. Some of it evolved to final assessments. Yeah.
Great. I think that's this is just a different way of approaching it, right? If you come at it in an open-minded way, you go, okay, hey, this is the objective.
Correct.
How do I assess for that? You know, I mean, remove the versus online versus offline concept and just go, what's the best way to do this? I think different ideas come up, and it's depending on your institution and depending on the technology you're using, it opens up different permutations as well, in terms of how you can assess that as well. So I'm mindful of the time. Just want to thank everyone for joining us today. It's been really amazing talking to Mr. Gabriel.
Thank you very much for having me.
I would like to hear more from Gabriel. I think, Gabriel, would you like to talk about what you're doing tomorrow?
All right. I think before I say, I think is this my closing statement? You want me to say?
Yeah. Go. No, actually, I was just going to introduce you to what you're doing tomorrow.
Okay, all right. For me, okay. Remember earlier on, I was talking about the pre and during and post delivery. What we have done is the Teaching and Learning Center of UOW Malaysia, KDU. We have come up with this virtual academic series. Virtual academic series is where we are going to talk about certain key elements or key important topics pertaining to online learning. Now, this is done with my colleagues in Penang and also in PJ. So I'm going to just share with you. Tomorrow, I'm going to have okay, I'm just going to share screen first. Sorry, I believe the screen is shared. Okay. Yep. Tomorrow, we are going to have a session at 3 p.m., 3 to 4 p.m. on pre-delivery checklist for online lessons. Now, this is going to be a UOW Malaysia perspective. This is based on the observations that actually we did. Okay, so it's going to be a good, fun session. It's going to be a session which is not going to be formal. It's going to be a session where we tell you 13 key elements of what we have identified. So this is something very special to UOW KDU. Who knows, if you can pick one or two things to be implemented in your institution, please do. It's free for all. Knowledge is free. It's all for you. All right.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that offer, guys. This is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Via WebEx. Malaysian time. Yeah. We will also put the link for you guys in the chat room as well, and also through the email follow-up. So Mr. Gabriel, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been really just listening to the way you speak, especially the passion that you bring to the table. Is there anything that you'd like to say as a way to sign this off?
I would like to say two things. One, for an organization to be successful in all of this, you need a few prongs. The top management needs to be strong to drive this initiative. Then we need the heads of school, the second level, to drive their staff. Then we need the staff itself. Having good software is one thing. Having good people, the motivated people, is more important. And that is something which I dare say in KDU is what we have over in Penang and over in Selangor. So the people are very dedicated. The people will go more than what is expected from them. Okay, I even have colleagues who are even answering students at night. Why? Because they were concerned whether the students understand. Going all out. And this makes my life in teaching and learning center so much easier. Right? So much easier. And this is it is something which the success of online delivery is not only one individual's, it's everybody's initiative over there. And I would like to thank you, Sarvin, for having me. It has been a pleasure. It's a real pleasure.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Guys, if you would like to ask more questions, feel free just to put it in the chat. We will try to answer you post-webinar via email, and we'll kind of round up all the questions and then kind of send it out to everyone else. If you would like to know more about open learning, feel free to come click on the link below. We'll put it on the chat to kind of learn more about how our platform can help your institution come online. For that moment, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again, Gabriel.
Thank you very much.
Great talking to you, honestly.
Likewise,
look forward to
likewise.
well. Have a great day, guys. Thank you very much.
See you. Bye.
Hi, everyone who's still in the chat. Feel free to post any questions that you have. We will try to round them up at the end. If you have anything else, if you'd like to know more about open learning, please feel free to click the link in the chat room, solutions.openlearning.com. Alternatively, you can just put in your questions here and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Yes, the session is recorded. We will put a link for you where you can watch the video back again. How do you register for tomorrow's event? Let me double check that with Gabriel and I'll get back to you guys. Miss Wendy, I will get back to you on that one.
Hi, Sarvin.
Hi, Gabriel, you still there?
I believe there was a question pertaining to registration, right?
Yes.
Are you going to send this poster to our viewers?
Yes, so post
Okay,
send an email out and
no problem. They can scan the QR code or just click or just copy the link over there and their
understand. Yeah, we'll do that for you. No problem.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Guys,
all right,
just
Sarvin. I'm out.
Thank you very much. Guys, just to confirm, the QR code is being shown at the moment. So if you'd like to register for tomorrow's event, please feel free to use your cameras at the moment.